up, ladies and gentlemen? Today we're back with another video, and today we're going to be doing my review on Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua and Andrew Tate versus Chase Demoor event. Now, obviously, I waited until both of the events are over to give my overall review of both events, and I'm going to be giving you my thoughts on the fights, how they performed, and where they could go from next. Obviously, I made my prediction videos, which have already been released back a few days ago, and we're going to be talking about all of that and more. So I hope you guys enjoy today's video. Leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, this is going to be a good video, I feel like. So let's do this. All right, we're going to start off with the first one. We're going to go in order, all right, and I'm going to leave the Jake Paul AJ one to last because that's probably the one I got the most to talk about, to be honest. But I'm going to start with Anderson Silva against Tyron Woodley. Obviously, two UFC legends. I predicted Anderson Silva to win, and he did win. Luckily for me. I didn't really predict by the way he did, which was knockout. Obviously, the logic was in my head that Anderson Silva is a striker, and he's more known for his actual fighting, like punching, than Tyron Woodley. For mic check, I just had to check if my mic worked. But anyways, I'll continue. So Anderson Silva obviously was known for his striking, whilst Woodley was known for his grappling. And I know grapplers aren't the greatest boxers, so I predicted it would go to Silva, and he won. So fair play to Anderson Silva at the age of 50, getting knockouts against Tyron Woodley. And apparently he wants to fight Chris Weidman next. So fair play. Obviously, Woodley, I don't know who he can fight. Dan Till wanted to fight him, but honestly, I feel like Dan Till would destroy him if they fought. So I don't know what is next for Tyron Woodley. But Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman, the original fight that was meant to happen, I thought, all right, that'll be a good fight. Anyway, moving on to the next fight, which was Nick LMAO and Ben Williams. Now, this was really the first fight I paid interest to in the Mitsits Mania card. Obviously, I predicted Ben Williams would win, and he did. I knew because of his boxing experience, he would have an advantage over Nick LMAO. And I was correct. Ben Williams did exactly what I said he would do and outbox Nick LMAO. And like the way Nick LMAO was in the ring, the way he acted was something that we never really saw from Nick LMAO against anyone. I think it just shows really the levels of Ben Williams. So who's next for Ben Williams? I heard he wants to fight Ed Matthews. Like that would be I feel like that would be just a very unfair fight because I don't think Ed Matthews would win that. I think there's like levels between. Obviously, Ben Williams is going to be wanting that Jarvis rematch for sure. So we're going to see obviously who he fights next is really up to what Misfits want to do. I think. Obviously, I don't think he should fight Jarvis immediately. We don't really know what Jarvis is doing next, if he'll even box again, because he hasn't really said anything. He hasn't said he's retired, but he hasn't said also when he wants to return. Maybe next year we'll get a return from Jarvis. But yeah, I think Ben Williams will probably have to do like one more fight if he wants to go back into fighting into the possibility of fighting Jarvis again. But we'll have to see where that goes. Now, next fight was Anthony Taylor against Anthony Taylor against Niraj Goyat, the Misfits versus MVP. Now, obviously, I did two separate predictions on this because obviously, but it was meant to be Slim against Niraj Goyat and Anthony Taylor against Dylan Dennison MMA, and obviously that was a quick turnaround for Anthony Taylor because he had to go back to training for boxing again after training for MMA just to fight Neeraj Goyat, who's obviously got more boxing experience. He had to apparently lose a lot of weight for this fight. Meanwhile, Neeraj Goyat probably had to switch like fight training because obviously he was probably training for a taller person as Slim for like Slim, but yeah, Neeraj Goyat came out and won by unanimous decision. Now, I feel like Anthony Taylor could have won that fight. I feel like what he did wrong was he kept showboating and like was just taunting more than actually doing it. Maybe it's because he thought he was winning a lot more rounds than he actually did. But because of that, he obviously didn't get the win. But one of the judges gave it to gave all of the rounds to to Neeraj Goyat, which I don't really agree with. I don't think it was. I thought it was a close fight. I don't think it was like one more than the other. Obviously, Anthony Taylor was not happy with the result. Apparently, they had a brawl backstage between Anthony Taylor and Neeraj Goyat. So yeah, I don't know what's next for either of them. Obviously, Slim probably needs to fight Niraj at some point because even though that means now that Niraj is the champ, um, but also I don't think he has signed a long contract to fight on Misfit, so I don't know when he's going to be returning. But he is, I think, the champ now. But also, it wasn't Anthony Taylor's weight class either. He had to go down in weight, so. Obviously, there was no titles on the line. It's just the fact he obviously lost. Sucked for him. So we'll see. I do feel like Anthony Taylor will return, and when he does, he will hopefully get a win. Maybe they could do the rematch at some point. Because I do think it's a winnable fight for Anthony Taylor. I don't think he got outboxed the whole time. I feel like it was a very good, even fight. So yeah. Next up, I forgot to talk about it, but Joey Laws against Amir Anderson. I predicted Amir Anderson would win this because I knew he was one of Misfits' best prospects in the pro division, and he dispatched of him. He dispatched of Joey Laws. Joey Laws did fight very dirty. I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of fights on this event that fighters who fought really dirty on this event. With like Dean and Namado, but I'll get onto that fight in a sec. But Joey Laws versus Amir Anderson, I was excited for this one because they had actual beef going into it. There was like water throwing, there was like pushing and shoving, there was slaps, like there were everything. Like they hated each other, and like Joey Laws went in there just to like knock his head off. Like he took it more like an actual scrap than he took it as an actual scrap more than a sorry, what was I gonna say? He took it as like an actual scrap more than my head's just gone silent. I don't know yeah, sorry. He took it more as an actual scrap than a boxing fight. And he was fighting very dirty, I felt like. Joey Laws. Obviously Amir Anderson's very talented, very skillful, and he won. And what is next for him? Apparently, he wants to fight Nico Walsh, Nico Ali Walsh, who is, if you didn't know, uh, a relative to Muhammad Ali. But there's many fights. I'm not really aware of like that many good like pro fighters that's on Misfits roster that he could fight. Obviously, for Joey Laws, I don't even know if he will fight on Misfits again. He probably will. But he is very entertaining. He is a very entertaining star on Misfits. Obviously, you kind of wish he did more against Amir, but it was Amir's first full test, and I feel like he did well. And obviously, I'm excited for him to return. You know, he's champ, and you have to see where he goes from there. All right, next up we'll do is Dean versus Amado Vargas Jr. Now, similar to the fight I just talked about with Amir Anderson and Joey Laws, this was a very dirty fight. That was very personal. I think this was more personal than the Joey Laws fight. because mums were involved, sisters were involved. Like he was going at his mum, his sister, his brother, his father, like any his like girlfriend, any relative or anyone close to Amado, Dean was firing shots at. Um, but I feel like this fight showed um, showed the levels between an influencer and a pro boxer. Like there's been like rare times where well there's been obviously times where YouTubers and boxers fought similar to the one I'm going to be getting on later with Jake Paul versus AJ, but like KSI versus Tommy Fury, Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, Jake Paul versus AJ, where boxers just get outclassed by the influence get outclassed by the boxers, which I didn't know how Amado was. I didn't watch any fight, and I should have probably did that before predicting the fight. I only did it based off Dean. Obviously, he was coming off an injury as well. He's obviously hasn't fought since last year in Dubai, not Dubai, sorry, in Dublin. And Amado Vargas obviously beat Ryan Garcia's brother, I believe, as well. So like, obviously, Amado Vargas showed class. Now, Dean the Great was getting bullied in there. He got bullied. Like, he could have been stopped. Obviously, he had the chin that didn't get stopped. So fair play to Dean. But I did get bullied in there. Like, he did. Like, I'm not gonna lie, he did get bullied. Like, he got outboxed, outclassed. Now, Dean is probably... But the thing that confused me is after the fight, Dean actually, like, I don't know if it was just pure delusion or people were telling him or whatever, but he generally thought he won the fight, which confused me. Because he actually had his hand raised. But for some reason, he thought he won the fight, even though obviously, in my opinion, he didn't. And yeah, like, it just confused me, you know. But obviously, Dean got outclassed for like all the rounds. He got outboxed. Clearly, I feel like he might have underestimated Amado Vargas because Amado Vargas has skill. Like he is very talented, Amado. Obviously, I'd like to see Dean fight again. I don't know who he can fight. I think Little Cray Cray could be an option for Dean. I'm just trying to think at the top of my head. Um, you got loads of options. You got like I think Lil Cray Cray makes the most sense. Probably. I mean, for Martin Vargas, you can go down many routes. You could go for him to fight Fox the G, who is the current lightweight champ. You can make him fight as well as Fox the G. You got obviously a few pros as well, like Jahan Ingram, H2O, Sylv, whatever his name is, from MVP. Like, any of those fights really make sense. And yeah, in my opinion, I think um, I think Jake. I think not Jake. I think there's a lot of options for both of these fighters to go down. But I feel like the most likely one will be doing Amado versus Fox the G next year, and hopefully Fox the G wins because I do like Fox. But I don't know. I don't know what will happen. But Amado, fair play to Amado for his dub. Um, to be honest, though, I feel like the ref was a bit bad throughout the night. I don't know if it was me or I feel like the refs and the judges are a bit iffy, in my opinion. But going on to the co-main event of Misfits Mania, we had what was it called? Tony Ferguson against Warren Spencer. Now I predicted Tony Ferguson to win, but I didn't predict him to win the way he did. My logic was that obviously Tony Ferguson beat Saul Pappy. And I don't think Saul Pappy and Warren Spencer are on any similar level to each other. And because of that, I thought Tony Ferguson would dispatch of um, Warren Spencer. But I have to say, fair play to Warren Spencer because he got hit with shots. He got knocked down, came back up, carried on fighting. Like he fought well. He didn't get stopped as well. He went all distance with Ferguson. And even made it back and forth, and they both got fight of the day on the night, so fair play to both. Obviously, Warren Spencer put up a good performance. Like, you have to realize he fought an MMA legend. Like, he fought an ex MMA champ. Like, that is an ex UFC champ. Like, that's not an easy thing for everyone to do. You know what I mean? So, fair play to Warren and Tony. Put on a good performance. Obviously, for Tony Ferguson, he's really the only one where I don't know who he can fight next. Like, obviously, I don't know who's in his weight class that hasn't really fought him. I know Slim wanted to fight him at some point. Maybe Anthony Taylor, if they're in the same weight class, I'm not sure really. But I don't know if Ben Williams is in that weight class, but if he is, that could also be another one. But like, there's multiple fights Ferguson can do. He can either fight ex MMA legends like Down Till, well not Down Till, but like do the fight like ex UFC fighters like Down Till did, or he can fight other influencers, boxers. Obviously, it was meant to be Gibb instead of Warren Spencer, but obviously I think Gibb is retired, and I don't know if he'll come back to fight Tony. I don't know if that will be a fight worth. Maybe if the money is right or if it makes sense, he might. But if I had to be completely honest, um, I think that would be the fight that makes the most sense in my opinion. But for Warren Spencer, I think in my opinion, obviously he was meant to fight Jarvis. I don't know if Jarvis will fight him, but I feel like the Ben Williams rematch. I feel like that would be a banging fight. I don't know if they'll fight, but obviously there are multiple options for them to go down. Like that's a good thing about these fights. You got multiple options for either fighters, win or lose. So yeah, next up is the main event, Misfits Mania. Chase, Demoor, Andrew Tate. Now, this fight was disappointing. But to be honest, I don't know what I expected. I knew Chase Demoor didn't have technique at all to save his life. Andrew Tate, I thought was going to be more technically efficient in that fight. Obviously, he had the disadvantages like the weight, the size, the height, the reach, all of that, and the age as well. The thing is, I wanted Chase Demoor to win, but I felt like because of the whole storyline of Andrew Tate being CEO and all that, they're gonna be wanting him to win. Like, they can make like the KSI fight or the Jake Paul fight if he wins. Like that's what they were planning to do. But honestly, after that performance, I don't want to see. I don't think Andrew Tate could beat any of them. Because they were heavily disappointing. Andrew Tate got tired really quickly, and I don't know if that's because obviously heavyweight I don't think is his weight class. He only really did it to test how apparently how the champions is. Simply, I think he just looked at all the champions of Misfits and thought which one would be the easiest to beat, and he thought, you know what, Chase Demoor looked easy, and then he lost. One of the judges though surprisingly gave it a draw, and I was like, huh? I don't know how you'd give it a draw. I felt like Andrew Tate wasn't even throwing that much in the later rounds. Like, arguably, I'd give the first 2 rounds to Andrew, and then the last 4 Chase. Obviously, Andrew Tate is 40. We need to remember he's turning 40. He was arrested. He hasn't boxed in like he hasn't fought in a decade. So he had ring rust. But obviously no excuses. I think fair play to Chase, you know. But I felt like there was at times where he could have got finished Andrew. And obviously he didn't, but he could have easily. But where does he go from here? Obviously, I feel like Andrew Tate he can fight anyone, win or because of his name and his like thing, win or lose. But obviously, the smart thing for him to do would be probably fight someone who is not as good. Maybe have a few fights, find people who are like okay, like meh, not a champ, and then from that fight. someone big, like maybe. Well, not. I'm not gonna say Jake Paul. Logan Paul would be a good fight, maybe. But I don't know. Logan Paul's once again like another Chase where it's like way bigger in size and stuff. But I don't know. And it's way technically better, but he's in the WWE, so I don't know. I don't think that'll happen. You know what, Chase? He wants to fight Tommy. Like, yeah, but honestly, I don't think I want to see Tommy Hughes fight Chase after that because it's not a competitive fight. He would get just destroyed because Tommy Fury is actually good. That's the thing. He's not like a 40-year-old kickboxer. But I feel like the most realistic options would be either HS Tiki Toki, which would be a banging fight. Roman Fury would be a banging fight, or do the rematch of Tempo, maybe. But they're all very tough fights and fight they could lose them. So I don't know. I know Dante wanted to fight Andrew Tate, but I feel like that would be very, very easy fight for Dan because I feel like he'd destroy him, and I know Andrew Tate would not want that fight either. So yeah. Moving on to the final fight, AJ Paul. Oof. The fight of the last fight of the video, and probably the one I've got the most to talk about. Honestly, I think it was very, 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 very. I think it was a very, very interesting fight, in my opinion. Um, I predicted Jake Paul to lose, and he did. He lost, uh, and it was just destruction. He got destroyed. Now, I'm not gonna lie, it was a very funny fight to watch. It wasn't the most amazing fight ever, but it was very, very, um, it was very, very weird. I thought it was very funny though, watching it. Um, I think obviously AJ should win, was meant to win, and it finished him, which he did. But the issue with it was he did take 6 rounds to beat him. But in fairness, before everyone says how he survived, letting him survive 6 rounds, he was running away. Chase, I mean not Chase. Jake was running away for 6 rounds. He didn't actually like fight properly. All he did was just run around, and that's probably why he made the ring 22 by 22, like a bigger ring than usual because he wanted to run around. But I was surprised because AJ didn't really throw a lot of body shots. He didn't try corner him. He just was chasing him, and he just let Jake run circles around him. Obviously, Jake got tired as well. And honestly, the thing is, I feel like Jake's not stupid. He knew if he traded or tried to go like stand still and do basically what Ngannou tried to do, um, he know he would have got knocked out. He's not. He knows that AJ's got power, and the fight showed he did. But the thing is, all Jake Paul's game plan was he was gonna just run around, clinch, survive, and then go around saying, "Oh, I survived. I went distance with Anthony Joshua," knowing he would have lost because he would have lost doing that. He could have at least said they went distance, similar to what happened with Tommy Fury. But all he wanted to do was survive, and that was just kind of it. Obviously, AJ, I wasn't his greatest performance. If he knocked him out cold in like the first 2 rounds, then that's would have been better. But he did let Jake survive 6 rounds, and Jake did clinch so much. Similar to the Andrew Tate versus Chase demoor fight, it was just a hug fest. Um, like there was a point where he it looked like he was like kneeling down in front of AJ, and it was very soft, but it was just very cringe. So I thought I heard someone knock. Um, yeah, I just found it very like cringe, in my opinion. But Jake Paul, but I don't know what Jake Paul's plan was. But it costed him because now he's got a broken jaw in two places, which is mental. Meaning he can't. He had to go to surgery, get like plates. And he did get nearly 100 mil for it. So if you want, he got paid 100 mil to basically break his jaw and run around the ring. uh, but yeah, honestly, I knew AJ was gonna win. Like he even made certified it when he said, "Oh, I'm training with Team Music." Like that even just made it nailed in. Like there was no chance. Like even if Jake Paul threw his best shot, which is the overhand right, he wouldn't have wobbled or like affected AJ at all. So yeah, but he did land a few punches on AJ, to be fair, but it did absolutely nothing. In my opinion, I don't think Jake Paul can compete at heavyweight. He's not a heavyweight fighter. At best, maybe cruiserweight, but I see him more as like a lightweight, cruiserweight maybe. But who's next for both? Obviously, I know AJ wants to fight Fury. I just found it funny with the audacity to be like, you know what? After fighting Jake Paul, a Disney star, and went 6 rounds to finish him, I'm gonna fight Tyson Fury, X, one of the best heavyweights in our generation. I just find it a bit. Hmm. If it was against any other fighter, then yeah, that probably would have made more sense. But the fact you did that all because of Jake Paul is just. Ugh. But honestly, the event was good. You know, obviously the Anderson Silva fight was good. Um, but the Jake Paul AJ, I don't know. I just found it very funny. It was very annoying at the beginning when he was just running around, pinching. But near the end, where AJ actually got to fire shots and do damage, was where it actually turned good. Obviously, I know people are going to be memeing AJ, but you have to give AJ his respect. Going into, I mean, Jake Paul, sorry, for stepping in the ring with a heavyweight. Um, to be honest, though, uh, I think it does take away the fact that everyone used to call his fights rigged. I feel like you can't really do that anymore because I don't think this fight was any rigged. It would only I would have only thought that if they went distance with Jake Paul running around the whole time. If the thing that happened in the first 2 rounds happened the whole fight, then I could understand it. But I don't think it was or would be. Now obviously a Jake Paul, the thing is he could still fight anyone regardless of the result to AJ. Because it's not an embarrassing loss. Losing to Anthony Joshua is not embarrassing. I think the most logical one would be a Tommy Fury, but obviously, I don't think Tommy Fury would do that fight. I think Tommy Fury would try overprice himself or try and do it in a country that makes no sense for Jake Paul. Obviously, I don't. He wants to fight Canelo and Crawford. I don't think he will fight Canelo and Crawford after a loss against AJ. If that happens, that might be the stupidest thing for him to do. But honestly, I did bet £2 on Jake Paul as a joke. By the way, I didn't actually think Jake Paul was gonna win, but it was a joke, and I did lose £2, but I did find it funny. But honestly, for most people, it's probably a generational weekend. The fact AJ and Jake Paul lost. I mean, no, Jake Paul and Andrew Tate lost in a matter of days after each other. Um, which I just found hilarious, to be honest. But obviously, I feel like Jake Paul should fight Tommy or someone next. Um, Makes the most sense. But we'll have to see, really. I don't think he's probably going to fight end of the year. Well, he's probably not going to fight until probably like halfway to maybe near the end of the next year. Depending, obviously, if his injury is really bad. Because that injury, breaking your jaw, could he could possibly have to stop boxing because of the injuries AJ did. That was a concern going into it. Obviously, he took the fight anyways. Um, but yeah, like end of the day, he is what it is. Obviously for AJ wise, obviously he's got the Fury fight he can do, but I don't. He should not fight Fury next. It should be maybe halfway next year. He should fight at least one more fighter. Apparently, I heard he's going to fight a kickboxer, which is once again, if you're preparing for a Tyson Fury, fighting a kickboxer isn't really going to help because Fury fought in Ghana before Usyk did not help. But to be fair, Usyk is a different breed, and to be honest, they are in the same training camp now, so it makes the fight a bit more interesting, in my opinion. But overall, this weekend's been funny. It's been good, and yeah, that's just been my review of the fight. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, and peace.